Hi class, we are now on week 10 of the semester. So I put up the folder in Blackboard. So if you're following the schedule, which you should be, week 10 we have chapter 8, small group communication. So please make sure to read the chapters and do the Learn Smart. So for small group communication, if you look at the lecture slides, we pretty much talk about small group communication, right? So if you remember from a few weeks ago, interpersonal communication is any communication that is between two people, one-on-one, right? So the dynamic changes when you add people aside from you and another person. Once another person is added, that is considered small group communication. It's no longer that one-on-one, and now you have a third person, perhaps would be a fourth person, so on and so forth. So the group dynamic, or rather the dynamic changes because of the addition of other people, and that is considered small group communication. So just look at the chapter. If you look at it, it pretty much talks about how we deal with group communication. So in other words, and sometimes we might even not even realize it's small group communication. So the one that people tend to think about is if it's in a classroom and you're doing a group project or a team project, that is only group activity. That is not the only thing that's group communication. So things like being in a band, right? So the goal for a music band would be to create good music, right? So not only do you have to focus on what the goal is and the task is, but you also have to deal with different dynamics of each person in the group. Um, if you think about even where you work, right? Let's say you work in a particular office, and you're one unit of many in that office, or you're in a store or a restaurant. And you work in the kitchen, right? The unit in the kitchen, let's say, that's group communication, right? So that it's kind of separate from the rest, and you have your own dynamic. Pretty much almost everything that you can think of can be considered group communication. So just look at the chapters. It talks about how we deal with not only the task, but how we deal with the actual the secondary, how we deal with our group members. In addition to that, the chapter also talks about, and the lecture slides talk about powers, not wizard powers, but powers that each person has on other people without realizing it. You may have power or have power held over you, and in that chapter it talks about various types of power. So expert power, legitimate power, right? Title based on title. um, Reward power, punishment power, right? The ability to give reward or a consequence for something, and it of course has to be something that is of substance. So let's say when you were a child, when you were 6 years old, and your parents said, "Hey, if you be good, we'll give you ice cream at the end of the day," and you as a child are like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll get ice cream. I'll behave," right? In that scenario, the parent has reward power over you. At, let's say, 40 years old or even 20 years old, your parents could probably say the same thing. If you behave, I'll give you ice cream at the end. And perhaps you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, it's not really that big of a deal, right? Because the reward is not as significant, it's not of substance as it was when you were 6 years old, right? It has to be significant and of substance. Same thing with the consequence. If you get a fine of $1, most likely people are going to tend to keep doing it. If it's a fine of $1,000, people will tend to avoid it, right? So take a look at that. We hold different powers. People hold different powers over us, not over groups, but each individual person. And then also the chapter does end with leadership styles. Take a look at that, and to kind of look at various leadership styles that you've had experience in previous jobs, or even in the education realm. All right. So, aside from, of course, the chapter, there's also the Unit 2 test. All right, so start studying for that. My frequently asked question for that is, what chapters do I have to study for Unit 2? The answer is chapters that are in Unit 2. So if you notice, the book and the schedule is split up into different units. 1, 2, 3. So just look at the second unit, which is right here. Study those chapters, and those chapters will be on the exam. Please do not cheat. Please do not plagiarize. Of course, it's open notes, but please make sure to do the exam on your own time. And of course, the instructions are there, but I don't know if I told you guys, but you have 2 chances to do it. I take the higher of the two. So if the higher grade is the first one, I'll take that. If the higher grade is the second one, I'll take that grade. All right. So you have 2 chances. It will be open. It will be open starting week 11, which is next week. So just study for that. It'll be open next week. It'll be open 2 weeks for 2 weeks after that. But once it's closed, it's closed. So just kind of giving you a heads up. But for now, just do the Learn Smart chapter 8, do the reading, and make sure to practice those small group communication skills. All right. As always, feel free to reach out to me via email or on campus. I'll talk to you if I see you around, or just email me. All right. Have a great day, everybody.